Alrighty. I know you've sat there long enough, so I'm not going to take any more of your time, but I had a big fancy speech prepared, but I think I'll just keep it short and simple, and I'll tell you about two of my favourite characters from all of literature, and that's Frodo and Sam, the two little hobbits from Lord of the Rings. And when you think about the Lord of the Rings and those two little hobbits, they are given the most important task in that entire story. They are told that they must save the world, and they must do it by taking that little ring of power up to the top of the fires of Mount Doom, throwing it in the fires and destroying it. But here's the thing, they are the most ill-equipped for that task that they are given. They are hobbits. They're not like the impressive armies of man, the riders of Rohan. They're not like the wizards. They're not like the elves. They're hobbits. They're short, they've got hairy feet, and they eat a lot of food. I think we can probably all identify, well, I certainly do, my wife knows that I do, identify with hobbits. That's you and I. We're those little hobbits when we are confronted by the culture of death. And that struggle that we're engaged in to build and defend the culture of life, at times it can seem extremely overwhelming. We've had talk today about the euthanasia issue, the extreme abortion bill. I sat in Parliament and I witnessed firsthand the goings on around those bills, and I can tell you it's not just a disagreement about philosophy or ideology. We have a dysfunctional parliamentary system at the moment. It is not working as it should. I witnessed it firsthand. I witnessed an almost empty debating chamber as some of the most important safety clauses in both of those bills were brought before our House. It's not just a disagreement when 2/3, 3/4 of our MPs are not even in the House engaging on these issues, and they have given their votes to other people to cast on their behalf by proxy. That is a failing system. And at times that can seem so overwhelming, and it can be very easy to fall into despair. But here's the other thing about hobbits. A couple of important hallmarks about hobbits. Number one is they have their own little culture that they take with them, that culture of life. In the story of the Lord of the Rings, even in the heart and the despair and the darkness of Mordor, they still have hobbit culture with them. That's you and I, and the culture that we must take is the culture of life. The other thing about them is they work in a fellowship, a community, and that's what we need. And our movement will not be effective unless it is a wide, broad tent movement. It has to be open to all. You got faith like I have, great, but if you haven't got faith, you're still welcome. We want you all. Every person of goodwill has to engage on this issue, or we are not going anywhere. It is that simple. It is that simple. Here's the thing about those hobbits, that culture of life they take with them, that culture of goodness, truth and beauty. They are changing the world just by living that culture. And as we go from here, that would be my encouragement to you. I said earlier on, the future belongs to those who show up. Well, you're here today and you've stuck around to the very end, so big congratulations to you. But we've got to keep showing up, and that means going home tonight and living the culture of life in our families and with our neighbours and in our churches. Let me leave you with a couple of quotes. This is from Tolkien, who wrote The Lord of the Rings, and in the Fellowship of the Rings, the first book, it says this: "This is the hour of the Shire folk, the hobbits, when they arise from their quiet fields to shake the towers and councils of the great. Some believe it is only great power that can hold evil in check, but that is not what I have found. It is the small, everyday deeds of ordinary folks that keep the darkness at bay. Small acts of kindness and love." That is our culture. And let me leave this last little message with you, actually, that comes from a letter that my daughter Lucy, 13-year-old daughter sitting over here, off her own back a couple of weeks ago, came out and told me, "I've written a letter to Jacinda Ardern about abortion." 2-page letter, beautiful letter. But she finished it, my daughter, by saying this: "My last message to you, Prime Minister, is this: if in doubt, love is always the right path to follow." If in doubt, love is always the right path to follow. That is our calling. It is that simple. If in doubt, that's how you build a culture of life. And right now, it may feel like we are in the heart of Mordor. It's dark, we're alone, we're like those little hobbits, tired, aching legs. We climb up the side of Mount Doom. There's been all sorts of bills and legislations, and it can feel real tough. I don't know about you, but this little hobbit still has a lot more fight left in him, and I hope you'll be joining me on the battlefield, because I have never seen the pro-life movement this invigorated in the 16 years I have worked in this movement full-time. I have never seen it this invigorated, this connected, and there is a lot of work to be done beyond this election, and we are only just getting started. Thank you, you guys are awesome.